Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. We traveled all the way from California just to tell you my little tale of what happened in California with cap and trade. I know you all know what cap and trade is. If you don't, look through that leaflet there. I'm sure it'll give you a good explanation. But back in 2006, prior to my being elected to the state assembly, California passed AB 32, which was the cap and trade bill. So 2006, this was passed. It didn't get implemented until 2012. I got elected in 2012. So cap and trade is in place. They're bringing in about 2 to 4 billion, I think, during that time frame between 2012 and 16 in revenue from cap and trade. So the bill was supposed to expire January 1st of 2021. End of 2020. So last year in July, beautiful summer day in Sacramento, and we were in session, we find out that we are going to vote on a bill that would renew cap and trade, extend it to the year 2030, even though the law wasn't expiring. It was 2017, the law doesn't expire until 2021. So why would we vote 4 years early to extend a law that isn't expiring? So a couple things. One, there's speculation that Governor Brown wanted to get this done to make sure that he had a continual source of funds for the high-speed rail that doesn't exist, just so you know. Okay, so the imaginary train that we are spending billions of dollars on gets 25% of all revenue from cap and trade permits that are sold, 25%. Again, the train doesn't exist. So we go to vote on this bill, and now keep in mind, I'm on the leadership team, okay, in the Republican Assembly. I'm a member of the leadership team. I have some pretty good committees. I have a pretty nice office for a Republican in a blue state, and this vote goes down without really much discussion with the leadership team in the Republican Assembly. We were told a few days before, nope, no deal, no deal, because Governor Brown was trying to make a deal with Republicans. He needed 2/3 majority vote, which is 54 people in the Assembly. We have 80 Assembly members. He needed 54 votes because, and he set it up that way because the California Chamber of Commerce challenged the initial cap and trade law that was passed, saying this is a tax. You have to get a 2/3 vote from the people, or at least in your houses of representation. So Governor Brown said, okay, when we pass this one, we're going to make sure it passes with a 2/3 vote so that it can stand up in court. So 2/3 vote means he needed some Republicans to vote for it. And then the games began of figuring out which Republicans would be agreeable to voting for this law. I just want to remind everyone, again, I'm here as an example of what not to do with cap and trade, okay? California has the highest poverty level in the nation, in the entire nation, the highest poverty level. We have some of the highest electricity costs in the nation. Our gas prices are some of the, I think Hawaii has beat us out, and that's about it. So just bear in mind that California, yes, is the 5th largest economy in the world, but that does not mean that all is well in the land of fruit and nuts, okay? It's not. We have a lot of poverty. We have a lot of people who are homeless. Come to San Francisco. Check it out. So given that we have so much poverty, given that prices are so high, given that people can't afford the gas now, we were looking at this cap and trade policy saying there is no way we're going to vote to extend a program that increases gas costs and increases electricity cost. How do you justify that to your constituents? But Governor Brown and the Democrat leadership started talking with our leadership, not me, and a deal was struck, and 6 Republicans voted for that bill. Now, a couple of them, to be fair, live in districts that are coastal, that they probably would have had to have voted for that bill, but not 6. So 6 Republicans voting for that bill, do you know what that meant? That meant that the seats that we had our eyes on of taking as Republicans, their target seats, the Democrats' target seats, you know what they got to do on that bill? Sit back and watch. Hands off. Or vote against it. Now, to me, that made no sense. It didn't make sense to a lot of us, frankly, and we heard it. I mean, you want to talk about the phones ringing off the hooks. So it was at that point, again, had a nice office, had nice committee here, or nice committee assignments, but I couldn't go along with that. So I made the decision to resign my position from the leadership team because I just didn't want anyone to think that I was in line with doing that to the people of California, pushing that bill along. Thank you. So, weird thing is, I lost my committee assignments. I lost that nice office. But I would do it again in a heartbeat. And I had a lot of people from across this state, not even in my district, write to me and say thank you for at least standing up for us. Because you know what, as senior citizens, I don't know how I'm going to pay my electricity bill. Do you know what the temperature is right now in Southern California, where I live? I think it's 112 today. You have to have electricity. We have so many people who they just can't afford it. So again, I think if there are any elected officials in the audience, anybody who works for an elected official, those who perhaps lobby elected officials, just bear in mind that the good ones will always consider the effects that laws like this will have on the people they're representing. Because when we start talking policy, and Dr. Zeiger, I hope you've read some of his articles because they're phenomenal, they're terrific, particularly on cap and trade. But when we start talking policy, people get kind of lost in this make-believe bubble, right? Everything's happening sort of way up here at the 30,000-foot level. But you got to remember what's happening to the people down here, the people who are suffering from it. Our gas prices, I don't know what's gas here in Louisiana. What is it, a gallon? 260, 270. Oh my God, you're killing me. Our gas in Los Angeles yesterday was $4.79. Yeah, $4.79. Like I said, I think only Hawaii has us beat. I don't even want to tell you what my electricity bill is in the summer because you would fall out of your chairs, I'm sure. This is what we have to think about when we're passing laws like this. Because you know that Ontario, Canada, they were part of this whole cap and trade, climate, let's work together, deal with California. They pulled out. They said, you know what, this is not for us. So California is leading the charge in saving the world from Armageddon, from climate change. And while we're at it, we're taking just a little bit of that energy we're putting forth in saving the planet, and we're putting it towards a train that doesn't exist. So, I think you won't find a Republican who doesn't believe that climate changes, that humans are responsible for some of the things that are taking place in our environment, and we all want clean water and clean air, right? You're not going to find Republicans who say they don't believe, well, I hope you don't. But our policies have to match the values we have and the goals we have for the people we represent. And that is for people to be able to afford a home and people to be able to afford to turn their air conditioning on and not spend half of their income on electricity bills or gasoline to get to work. So that would be my cautionary tale to you, is that even though it cost me dearly in making that decision, it was the right decision. The people in California appreciate it. And right now, Californians are so fed up with high gas prices, to which cap and trade contributes, by the way, that we are now repealing a gas tax increase that was passed by the legislature last year. That's how angry Californians are. Blue California is about to repeal a tax. Can you believe that? Yeah, so just remember that. Again, I am here to tell you how not to do cap and trade. Thank you.